So, okay, we're going to move on now to our next guest, who all of you may know from buying his book that we all love. We consider it the Bible of the Partridge Family and the music of the Partridge Family. And it's called When We're Singing. And he just recently collaborated with one of David's brothers, Ryan Cassidy. Now, I know it's like a dream come true for him. And who would have ever thought that years ago that he would actually be writing a book with Mrs. Partridge's son? I mean, it's insane. Like, dreams do come true. Sometimes we don't know how they come true, but somehow. So Johnny's going to tell us all about his new book. He's writing books for so many famous people. Henry Diltz, he'll be writing, he's writing a book that we all know about. We're waiting for that. And he's diligently working on that book and helping other people. So he's a very busy man, and we're so lucky to call him a friend, and also to have him here spending some time with us on David's birthday. And here's our very sweet and dear friend, Johnny Ray Miller. Welcome, Johnny.
Everybody can unmute and give him
Hey, you guys. How are you guys?
Hey, excited to see you.
Welcome. I see so many familiar faces, and I'm just thinking back over the last couple of years, and having met so many of you guys, and so many fun times. The thing in Vegas last year, and I'm watching these things. Isn't it amazing how the technology, how far it's come in just 2 or 3 years? Remember when it was fuzzy and you couldn't even hardly hear anything ever? And
that was 4 o'clock.
Okay, wait. Here's what I want to know. How do you call me friend and bring me on after Alice Cooper? How the heck am I supposed to live up to Alice Cooper?
Oh, come on.
Friends,
You have a big fan base yourself.
We're giving you a little bit more time, Johnny.
Oh, okay. All right.
But anyway, without further ado, hit your chat box with questions, and Johnny, take it away.
I love it. I'm seeing the names I know. Suzanne Silverstein, hello to you. Annette Trotta Flynn, hello to you. I see you guys. Anyway, so where do we start? What can I tell you?
Yeah, well, first, let's talk about your first book, your newest book that just came out. Can you bring us back to how it all started, and how did it come about that you are writing a book with Ryan Cassidy?
Yeah, I mean, so amazing, isn't it? It's I was doing a book signing with Shirley. And I was sitting next to Shirley, and I heard Shirley say to someone that Ryan's here somewhere, and I wanted to meet him. And I turned to Shirley and said, "Shirley, where is he? I want to meet Ryan." And she said, "Oh, I'll never forget this, because I have my own share of being starstruck, right?" And I can still hear Shirley says to me, "Oh, he's out in the hallway talking to Lonnie Anderson," and I'm kind of like, where in the world, how is this happening to me, So anyway, he came in, and he came over to the table, and we just started chatting. And I think it was the next day that he came up to my table and said that he had this idea for a book for a really long time. And he just laid the title of it on me, and I just felt like, and he asked me if I would be interested in doing this with him, and of course I said yes. And I remember thinking, when he told me the title, I felt like I could see the story in that moment. It was pretty clear to me. I felt very connected to him from the get-go, and when he told me the story, and when he told me more than just the story, it's a story about one day in his life when he was babysat by James Cagney. But the deeper story is the impact that has on you when you're 7 years old. When somebody, when an adult outside of your family really pays attention to you and says, "I hear you, I'm listening to you." That says something that nurtures your creative energy, your whole being. I mean, that's what happened to him that day. And I think we've all had that along the way, whether it was a friend or, in his case, James Cagney. And then the other part of the story is that it didn't matter that it was a famous movie star that this happened with, because what he walked away with was a friend, was just a guy who became, a friend to him on that day. And so it's a story of, friendship and understanding and being heard as a young child. It's a story about the love of animals and creativity. That's kind of, what it is in a nutshell. And so I have to share this with you. I was going to bring a copy of the book down here, but this is just too cool. I hope I can get it on the screen. Our publicist sent us cookies that look like the book. So this is my big ad for the book, is to show you, if I can get this. We got a box of cookies that are painted like the cover of the book. I'm like, how do you possibly do that?
That is so cute. I love it. That is great.
So anyway, yeah, that's how it all happened, and it's been, fun. We just launched the campaign about a month ago, and we're off and running with it.
What was the hardest part of getting the ideas and like organizing the whole book itself? Like, what was the process? Like, he told you the story verbally, I'm sure, first. And then did he then write an outline and then you kind of helped him? Or how did that all come about? Did you try to help him remember stuff, or did he just remember on his own?
Yeah, we talked about it over many, many phone calls. And so I would have him tell me the story many, many times through. And then he'd tell me the story. I would record it, send it to him. He'd listen to himself, listen to the story, and then we'd talk about it. And we did it many, many times. I don't know how many times, but I wanted to see what the common language, what the voice was going to be in a common way over many, many repetitions. And so each time we would do this, then we would talk about it, and I'd say, hey, you know what? This is a phrase you use a lot. This really, I hear your voice in this, so to speak. And so we worked really, really hard at making sure this sounded like him, that it was his voice, that his points and what he wanted to say. What was really hard about this is that I thought it would be easy. That what was really hard, the Partridge Family book is 400 and some pages long, and it was heavy in research, and this is 64 pages long. And so the best analogy that I can give to you is in When We're Singin', I labored over every paragraph and every sentence. In James Cagney Was My Babysitter, I labored over every word. You could not get one word wrong, and he agreed. So, he was as hands-on with me. I mean, it truly was a real collaborative effort doing this, in the truest sense of the word.
How long did it take for you to write it together?
Months and months. Wow. I think probably once we started the whole process, I'm going to say like 6 months, something like that, when we really got serious about it, doing it and going back and forth and really laboring over every word and the direction that it would go, because the direction could change in a book like this that's geared towards children in a certain way. It could go left or right very, very easily. So making the decision on, how the pacing would go and how fast it would move, and, kind of which turn you would take and when, took a lot of discussion. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He also mentions that his daughter inspired him to get moving to write the book. He's an 11-year-old daughter. So did he talk to you about that?
Yeah, actually, in the beginning, we even contemplated having his daughter do the drawings for the book. It sounded, it was definitely something that sounded idealistically wonderful. But in the end, it just wasn't something that was going to work out. She's grown a lot since we wrote it. She was pretty little when we started it. And he has some little sketches, drawings that she did when we were first putting it together that you would get a kick out of. I don't have any of them here, but But yeah, she was very excited about the book, and I don't think it mattered that much to her that she did it or not, but she was very excited that he was going to write this book. And one of the fascinating things for me that happened along the way was I was doing some research on David, and I was looking back at old articles and newsletters that I had collected over the years. And I found this newsletter from 2001, and I'm reading through it, and they're talking about what the family's doing. It's a little bit of Sean and a little bit of Patrick, and here we are, and a little bit of Ryan. And Ryan says that now this is in 2001. Someday I'd like to write a book called James Cagney Was My Babysitter. That was in 2001.
Who said this?
Huh?
Who said that?
Ryan did. It was
in 2001.
Well, Ryan, I found it in an old article that was dated 2001. And I said, I called him up and I said, do you remember, saying this? I said, isn't this cool that I found this? You were saying this 20 years ago. And he had forgotten about any of that. But anyway, it was a cool little moment, to find that. I thought it was kind of a cool moment.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes it takes a long time before you get moving. And the years just fly by.
Yeah, isn't that true?
Yeah. So what did he say about James Cagney? What was his memories? What kind of person was he? And how often did he ever come to his house? Like, he went to James Cagney's house in the book, but did James Cagney come to their house often? And when was the last time they actually spoke?
James Cagney, one of his strongest memories was that he came over one day, or they went over there. I can't remember if it was they went over there, or this was Shirley. Actually, this is Shirley's memory, and she wrote it in the forward. But James Cagney rolled back the rug and sang and danced on the floor every song from Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that something? Yeah. And for Ryan was I don't think he ever saw him again, maybe after that day, but his mother, Shirley, would interact with, he was a friend of Shirley and Jack's. And so she'd interact with him, and he'd always ask about Ryan. And she would always tell Ryan how Mr. Cagney asked about you today, and how he said that he wished that he had a son or a grandson, I forget how it goes, that were just like him. But they definitely had a very special bond that happened that day from both ends, I think.
Yeah. Wow. Can you tell the audience what movie that Shirley Jones did with James Cagney?
Oh boy, you are smart with your questions. Wait, let me think.
I wrote it down.
You're good. Oh, what was that?
I did write it. Now I can't find the answer. Wait, I think I have it.
Shirley did the movie with James Cagney. Oh, what's it called? Yes. Go ahead.
Never Steal Anything Small.
Never Steal Anything Small. That's it.
And that was in 1959.
Yeah, that was it.
Yep. What else can you tell us about the connection between David Cassidy and James Cagney?
Right. Well, you guys all know David Cassidy did Little Johnny Jones, right? In the early 80s. It was the story of George M. Cohan and Little Johnny Jones. The film version was Yankee Doodle Dandy, which James Cagney won an Oscar for.
I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy. David Cassidy stars in George M. Cohan's Little Johnny Jones.
And I believe David wrote about that, knowing Cagney, that the family knew Cagney, in his book. So that was kind of the connection there. And I think David really revered the talents of James Cagney. David was smart about talent, and he knew who the good actors were, and that kind of thing. And definitely Cagney was more talented than the world always knew him as a gangster, right? But he could sing and dance. He was a pretty amazing guy.
I know Gino is asking about a book that you're writing with Henry Diltz. Can you give us any updates? Or Gina, would you like to ask that question?
Hello, Johnny Ray.
Gina, hey.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good. All right. Here's my question.
Hit me.
I wanted to know if you will be if the book will be completed by next year. Coffee table book.
No pressure.
No pressure.
And if it is completed next year, and if it's done by next year, will it be on the signings? I'm assuming signings are in order. East Coast or West Coast or both? Because I'm thinking a big bash.
I love that.
Like have a kind of like a reunion.
A David
of
Cassidy
sorts.
Party.
A reunion of sorts, you know, that kind of thing. So what do you think?
What do I think? Wow.
I'm
gonna choose my words carefully. Okay. Okay. The interesting thing about this process with the Henry Diltz book is that it's all pictures, and you might think that that's easier than writing the book, but it's writing a book but it's harder. In the Partridge Family book, I have 64 pages in the middle that's full color, and I have 460 pages of text. The photos in the middle took longer to do than write the book, because there's so much involved that some of it goes beyond me. The gathering of photos, the layout artist who's going to do it, how you proof the book is, and that section is different than how you proof text. So there's a really long way to go yet, because I will tell you this, I'll tell you what I can tell you. We sorted through, Henry Diltz and I sorted through 13,000 David Cassidy photos. And of those 13,000 photos were all the color ones. That didn't even include the black and whites, which he has probably that many of those too. So that's kind of an interesting little tidbit for you. First of all, going through those photos took forever. I can't eat months. I don't know, maybe it was more than a year probably. And we went through all of those. And then it's sifting down from that, because of course you can't have 13,000 photos in a book. So it's sifting down from that. How do you, choose? What do you choose? How are you going to lay it out? Will it be by event? Will it be chronological? And then that's just working on the book. So now you have to take into account Henry Diltz's schedule, which is insane. He is in demand everywhere. He travels the world, making appearances, doing all kinds of things. He's on boards, and, he is so busy. So we steal the time when we can. And, that's kind of, that's probably the best I can tell you on that. So to say, when will it get done? Like hopeful, I can only say like hopeful things. And I can tell you this, Henry wants it done really bad. But don't forget, he's the photographer for all of these famous people, like who are all like, there's books coming for all of these guys. Anyway. So
will you have a signing?
Would there be a signing? I can't speak for Henry on that one, because we haven't even we're not even there with that. Me, I will be out there, and I will go wherever I can go to do it. Yeah.
He probably won't be able to. He probably, being his age, he won't be able to do signings, right?
Well, who knows? I don't know.
Because
but
you'd want him to sign too,
Well, I would tell you, don't underestimate that man by his age, because the guy is more agile than I am, and with it, and sharp, and he's crazy in good shape. That guy is really with it. And he loves to go out and do these kinds of things. So I'm sure that he would do anything that he could, but we're so far from that point in all of it. There's just a long way to go. I could dream about this being done and out by the end of 24, I think would probably be a dream for that one. A dream, I say dream.
So
and maybe it would come sooner. I don't know. It's kind of a time frame.
Okay, because we're so excited about it.
I know. Me too, man. Me too.
You get a lot of sales.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very exciting. The whole thing. It's going to be a whole new kind of book for me, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been a lot of fun so far.
All right. Thanks, Johnny. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, no problem.
Johnny, when we were talking to the historian, I don't know if you
I
heard
was-
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about the song "You Can't Go Home Again" that you did a lot of research on. Can you tell us anything about it? Because we found one of the pictures in his book. There was a Phil McLaughlin that was on a 4th of July type of black and white picture that he had in one of his books here. And I'm wondering if that Phil McLaughlin might be Charlie McLaughlin's father or relative that they mention in that song. It's driving me nuts, as you know.
I know.
Barbara and I are trying to research. We're like looking. I found someone that moved to Florida that used to live in West Orange, and we reached out to them. We haven't heard back, so it's just making me nuts. But there, if you look on the screen, the man at the microphone for many years would do the emceeing for the 4th of July things at Colgate Park.
Yeah.
So his name is Phil McLaughlin.
Yeah. So I don't know. I love that you're digging into that. It's really, really interesting to me too. I think, there was a lot of collaboration on that song. So, so Kim Carnes and Dave Ellingson, I believe, both contributed on it, but I think the song itself is mostly Dave Ellingson's. And that's the feeling that I got from interviewing Dave Ellingson. But who knows? Maybe there's one thing I've learned when it comes to research. There's always something new to find out. There's no end. There's always something new. So yeah, I mean, I encourage you to keep digging, and I will see what I can find out too, because it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things that you go down a rabbit hole and you just keep looking and looking. And this is why.
Oh boy, do I ever get that. Yeah.
And this is why I'm up in the middle of the night. And then you're like, Karen, are you awake? Yeah, I'm awake.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, someone asked how old Henry is. I think he's 82 or 3.
I just Googled it. He's 84, unless Google's wrong.
84.
Yeah, Henry was here in 2019, right before the whole COVID thing, and he did Behind the Lens, and I was able to meet him. So that was only a few years ago, and he was out there signing, and he stayed all the way till the end. And actually, I got lucky, and I was able to walk out with him, and I was asking him about cameras and what kind of camera he used, and I had some pictures that I took of some famous people that turned out pretty cool, and we were just talking about that. He was very sweet, and his son was there, and his son was a doll as well, very nice. He's like, sure, my dad will sign anything. Yeah, and then I showed him the Life magazine. He's like, oh wow, I haven't seen this, and then he's flipping through it. I'm like, yeah. I go, I think your pictures were in there, and he's like, I don't know, maybe that was my picture. Oh yeah, I took, So he's like, I haven't looked at this in a long time, and so yeah, he's a great guy. I know you love.
Oh
him.
yeah, just vibrant and full of life, big time.
Yeah,
he's very, it's very. I can see why David was friends with him. I always say that I always feel that David and his image and who he was is just so misunderstood. And I really do mean that when I say that, because, if you look at the guys that David hung out with, Henry Diltz, Sam Hyman, these people were his closest friends. And I can tell you from, spending time with Sam Hyman too, he's very similar to Henry Diltz. So if you look at that kind of guy and that kind of thinking, and I mean, the positive energy that they have, their ideas about love and peace and happiness, all of these things, that you can see why they were all friends. And I think that those are the things that David should really be remembered for. And I think he really tried to convey that in his music too. I really believe that.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the book that you wrote with Ryan.
I was actually going to ask, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Karen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Talk about the illustrator. I think the pictures are very fitting with the tone of the book. All I can say about the book is it's beautifully sweet. And I think the pictures are very appropriate for that mood. The color choices, whatever. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Tell me about the experience of the pictures and whatever you can tell us, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah,
Well,
and
there's a very interesting story about that. It's funny that you ask about that. The original, the girl who did it isn't the person who started out doing it, and the person who started out doing it was more closer in age to Ryan and I, and we thought that that would be appropriate and good. But there was a thing where he ended up not being able to do it, and we had to go get, and his drawings were really great. They just captured the heart and this sort of caricature look of James Cagney that was really, really great. And so we thought, oh wow, what's going to happen now? And by that point in time, we had a publisher, and the publishers had an idea, and they went and got somebody, and she turned out to be a very young girl. Like early 20s. And I thought, okay, well, and I don't think she even at first knew who, the Partridge Family was, or Ryan, or any of it. And I thought that would be, not work as well, be concerning. And she was so good. And I guess that, when you're an artist, you just have that, you're able to do that, to see, to quote unquote, see. And she could see, and she was a real listener, and when they talked to her about a certain spread across 2 pages and the words that were going to be there, and the story behind it, so she would have the full picture, and she would come back with those spreads. It was just like, wow, that all came out of her mind. And if you look at it, like, she captured Shirley and Jack and little Ryan. If you've seen pictures of Ryan at that age, this drawings look just like him. And she was amazing. Yeah, Andrea was her name. Her name. Yeah, she's from New Mexico.
Beautiful job. Beautiful.
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about Ryan, because we don't really know a lot about him. We know that he was on, a sitcom show, and, was David's youngest brother. So can you tell us what kind of personality when you hang out with him? And
yeah, Ryan is very warm-hearted, very gentle kind of a guy. He's very loving towards other people, and he had a really good close relationship with David all the way through, all the way to the end. He's just a sweetheart of a guy. He's just that kind of a guy. He's very sensitive to other people's feelings, to a fault. When we did the Hollywood show together, he was very engaged with every person who came up to the table and wanted to talk with him, and felt as privileged to be there as they would say they were to meet him. He's just that kind of a guy. He's I don't know. I feel very very fortunate to know him. He's like my age. We're about the same age. I think we're 1 year apart, and he's just that kind of a guy. He's the kind of guy that you want to go have coffee with for about 4 hours. And you never get bored.
right.
He didn't have any musical inclining like the other three brothers?
No, and he never really, he tells the story about how he went into showbiz and he got the job on the Facts of Life. And he's a free thinker. That's one thing I really like about him. He's very, he is his own person, and really doesn't, care what anyone thinks or what he should do or shouldn't do. He knows who he is, and he's really comfortable in his shoes that way. He told me that, he went in, he got the job doing the acting on Facts of Life, and just kind of realized he didn't like it. And he thought, I don't have to follow in the footsteps of my brothers or my family. And, he'll tell you that Shirley always told him, all I want is for you to be happy. I don't care if that you pump gas. I just want you to be happy. And that's what she told all of her kids. And he's told me that. And so, he kind of found his way going backstage and working behind the scenes, and has done, has worked nonstop his whole career.
Wow. Did he ever talk to you about his father, Jack Cassidy? Like, did like any memories, special memories that he had?
Yeah, the special thing for Ryan and his relationship with Jack was that Ryan always felt that he got the best of Jack. Ryan was the youngest, and so Jack, had 3 kids prior to him, and you know how parents are, right? Like, I always joke I was the oldest. They practice on the oldest one, right? So by the time Ryan came along, Jack had been a dad 3 times over, and Ryan always felt that he got the best of Jack, that he was the one. And he's told me that David, even in their relationship, always told Ryan, I always wished I had the relationship with our dad like you had. So I thought that was kind of special. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. How does he describe his relationship with his mom?
Very close. Yeah, they are very close. She's, Shirley is exactly what you see. And many of you have met her, probably more than not.
Yeah.
She is absolutely that person that you expect her to be. And she's the mom that you think she will be. And she's like that with Ryan. I've kind of seen it in action. And she's just so loving and warm and, makes you want to go over to the Partridge Family house.
Does Ryan have any other ideas of more books to write in the future?
Oh, you're so good, Karen.
Because now he might be on a roll, it's like,
yeah, I know.
And you collaborate with him, so there you go.
Yeah, well, I'll just say there's been conversations.
Okay. All right, so that's cool.
Yeah, who knows, right? You never know what might
Sometimes,
happen.
yeah, you're like, oh wow, I could get this done. Yeah, and I have some other ideas. Yeah, that's what winds up happening.
What I wanted to know about, his songs and through his life, I know that he seemed to write a lot about his emotions that we can all tell. I really find his album Dreams Are Nothing More Than Wishes very fascinating because that seems to be autobiographical. Are you exploring that?
Absolutely, yes. I spent a lot of time on that, and yes, it was very autobiographical for him. For him at age 23 and 4,
yes,
which is an important, to note. And I think he wrote and did and recorded a lot of music that represented who he was at whatever point in life he was during the time those albums came out. And that's something I'm really digging into.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Isn't it funny how just how important it is for everyone to somehow keep their innocence alive, to somehow keep their childhood alive, and the thing that you remember when we were little and everybody said, oh, you don't know how good you have it now, and boy were they right? Because we do things like this to, I really believe, to keep our souls alive. I got to share one with you. This was a long time ago, but when I was a little kid, growing up in Ohio, I had already seen the Partridge Family do the episode at Kings Island. Well, Kings Island is in Ohio, and it's about 5 hours from where I live. And my parents used to take us to an amusement park every year. So I begged them to take us to Kings Island. So we went to Kings Island, and it was my mission the day we were there, more than riding the roller coaster, to go stand and be in all the locations where David had been. So, there I was doing it at age 12 or 13 or whatever I was, keeping that innocence alive. Even then, I really, I think it's kind of important for everybody, important to the soul.
Hi, Johnny. How are you?
Hi, Valerie. How are you?
Where are you from, Valerie?
I'm from Long Island, New York.
Oh, like
great.
Me.
Like just before the Hamptons start. And I had a question. Actually, there's a couple questions. Is David's ex-wife involved in anything that is being written, or they go to her for any information or anything, or?
As far as something else that's coming out, is that what you mean?
Yeah, anything in the future, or books being written about his life or anything?
Well, I don't know, what other people may be doing or what they're up to.
Mhm.
But I can tell you only at this point that I will have some surprises.
Oh, cool.
So
that's
yeah.
a good question.
Yeah.
And I actually, in the Sunbelt Mall in Holbrook, I met him, I would say in the late 80s, for a meet and greet. I was starstruck. I could not believe he came down the hallway by himself without bodyguards. And I'm like, he's that famous. Why on earth is this guy walking with all the crazy girls that were fanatical, me being included? Does he not have bodyguards walking him to where everybody was waiting? I was like, I stood there in utter shock when he came out the little door from the back of the mall and he walked out like it was nothing. And
Wow.
I'm thinking, you're crazy. Where's your bodyguards? That's what I thought. I just,
Well, so I got to tell you a story that's on the opposite end of that. So I can, I can see where David, like, he would do things like that, take chances like that. And even though he was very cautious too, whenever one of the times that I worked with him and we had him at the theater, I was, working really hard to do everything right, get his approval. And so I had brought all of these, and this was in 2009. And so I had placed security everywhere around the theater, like overkill. Okay. And so I had it, because I was, not going to take any chances. And when we got out of the car to go into the theater, I was like real serious, and I walked around to the other side of the car, and, I was like, really careful. And I said, we have security here and here and here. And he's like, he gets out of the car and he was like, John, it's okay. And it was just so funny the way he said it. He's like, it was in a back, like in a small town. He's like, we're safe. Don't worry. He was just really cool about the whole thing. And I kind of laughed and he kind of laughed, and it kind of broke the ice. It was funny.
and I kind of feel like Long Island gets left out of a lot of book signings and events. There's always like, I haven't heard of anything because I'm out just before where the Hamptons start, like 2 towns away from West Hampton. And there's a Barnes and Noble in Riverhead. They have the Smith Haven Mall and everything. And I feel like we are left out so many times. I hear about so many events that, are not offered. And there's a lot of fans out here. Trust me, there's a lot of people that are.
Yeah, you feel left out, huh? Try living in Ohio.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez.
Or Wisconsin.
There we go. Or Wisconsin, right? Or Australia.
Western Australia.
And
come here for a book signing, please.
Really?
I have to say, looking back on that day when I met him, I can still remember just being like frozen. And they're like, okay, you got to move up the line. And I'm thinking, okay, then you might have to shove me because I'm shaking because I couldn't. And they're like, it's okay. He's not going to hurt. He'll shake your hand. He's not going to bite. I'm like, yeah, I kind of know that. But I'm like, he's so famous. Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And Ryan messaged me on Facebook, which I was in awe because I saw a post of his on Facebook. And he actually messaged me. And I'm like, this is beyond cool because I will never forget the day. And I am really lucky. I have a brain aneurysm. I have memory loss right now. I can't remember everything about that day, believe it or not, but I do remember he did not have bodyguards. He was a regular person, and he talked to you and he treated you like you were family. And it was just amazing to me. He was not conceited or anything. He had no ego at all whatsoever. None.
Well, at the core of it all, I mean, aren't we all just people, really? And no matter who we follow or who the famous people are or who the non-famous people are, there's just, a core piece of being human that we all share.
And if we wanted to buy one of your books signed, how do we do that?
You can do it through the website. If you want it signed, so I have packages for the James Cagney book that you can purchase with signatures or whatever different package you want. I never did that with the When We're Singin' book, but if anybody, wants that, just message me to tell me when you buy the book and I'll sign it for you.
That's cool.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for talking to us. I just appreciate it so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you for, listening and having me here. I really appreciate it. I am a fan with all of you.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny, you have a lot of stuff on your website. Do you have anything else that besides the 2 books that people might want?
Yeah, there's a whole merchandise section on the website. If you go look at the whenwe'resingin.com website, there are a lot of photos that Henry Diltz has made available. In fact, and many of you know, he just released one today to commemorate David's birthday, and it's a beautiful photo from the Higher They Climb, Harder They Fall era, 1975. And there's some other things on there. There's signed lyric sheets from the Partridge Family campaign that we ran to launch the book that the songwriter sang. And we have some mint condition albums that I made available, and all of them have all of the parts included. So if you buy the shopping bag, it has the shopping bag in it. And they're all in great shape, and I played all of them to make sure that they were, top-notch condition. I thought, the last thing I need is for, the guy who wrote the book to be selling bad vinyl. So I was very careful on what I put up there. So yeah, check it out. See what you think.
Good.
Johnny, have you ever thought about interviewing fans who have met David for a book?
That's a great idea. That's wonderful idea.
We tapped on that last year for the 5 minutes I talked with you.
Oh,
but there's
yeah,
several of us.
Yeah.
That could probably contribute on that. And so I'm just wondering.
Well, I've got several projects that are going to keep me busy for about 2 to 3 years, but maybe after that.
If I'm still alive.
I know, if I survive it too. I mean, hey.
No,
just thought I would ask that.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Good to see you too, by the way.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Also going to give away a James Cagney Was My Babysitter book to one lucky winner here today. So Barb is going to do that in a moment, but I wanted to see if anyone else has any questions. Johnny, is there anything else that you'd like to add or tell us about anything?
Wow. No, just it was fascinating, the stuff listening to Mr. Fagan speak. There was a lot of fascinating stuff there.
What's your special memory with David? Today being his birthday, what do you think about most often about David?
Wow, it's funny, what do I think about most often? Most often, I think because I've gotten to know Ryan so well, I think of the moments with David that were just so genuine and so soft spoken, and he had that same quality that Ryan has. And sometimes Ryan will say something and I'll just be like, whoa, it's like carbon copy. So I think in terms of thinking of David recently, those are the moments that I'm experiencing. But one I thought about recently a lot was this 2009 concert, and it was special to me because my mother was still here, and she came to the concert, and her favorite song in the entire world was Cry. And David sang Cry at my request for my mom.
Oh, wow.
So that
made you want to cry.
Oh yeah, and I did. But yeah, it was just amazing. He told me going in, I want to sing a song that you want to hear at your request, and so the story goes longer. I've told this story before, but I go way back to when I was young, and the first Partridge Family album I ever got was in the discount bin And it was a visit that my mother made to the store because she was looking for a compilation album that included her favorite song on it called Cry by Johnny Ray. And so all of these, isn't that wild? So, you know, here I am, right? My name is Johnny Ray Miller. My mom's favorite song is Cry by Johnny Ray. And then flash forward, and it's one of David's favorite songs, and I'm working with David Cassidy, who's singing Cry to my mother. I mean, that's
crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy, isn't it? And something I treasure like more than I could possibly tell you.
And I'm sure it probably like touched his heart because he was so close to his mom and like had such a special place in his heart for his mom. And then for him to be able to do that for your mom.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a special moment for him too.
Yeah. You know, I know it was because we talked about our mothers a lot that day. And, you know, oh man, I don't know. It was just a moment that is so heavy to my heart. I don't think I can even repeat it and hold it together. But yeah.
Celeste, do you have a question? Celeste?
Yes, I do. When are you coming to Arizona?
Arizona. Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't been there. Yeah. I don't know.
I'll host a book signing.
Oh my God, I would love that. I will, you know, Long Island next time. Long Island for sure. Arizona for sure. I never went south at all either. But there'll be spots, you know, next time out of the gate that I'll make sure that I, you know, can try to get to anyway, especially with the Henry book.
Nancy, do you have a question?
Do you ever come to Michigan?
I'm not far from Michigan. Where are you in Michigan? Where are you?
Farmington Hills.
Oh my gosh. I have
Just
friends
outside of Detroit.
I have friends that live there. I have no excuse because I could stay at their house. Yeah, I'll remember, Nancy. Yeah, that'll be on the list for sure because I have very close friends in Farmington Hills who are always bugging me to come up there. And I haven't been up there since she got married, and I need to go.
And thank you for getting my book signed by Shirley. That was awesome.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I heard that now that Shirley is 90, that she's living with Sean. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
Oh, okay.
No, she moved up by Sean.
Okay.
They live near each other, but she is in her own house and doing great, really.
Anybody else? Are we going to give away a book, I think? Karen?
We are going to give away a book. Yes.
Let's do it.
Spinning wheel.
Mary Beth Hunt, is she still here?
Mary Beth Hunt, congratulations.
I'm here.
Oh, there she is.
Where is she?
Hi, Mary Beth.
Hi, Johnny.
How are you?
Great.
Here's the girl that watched the Partridge Family 50 years ago. I'm Mary Beth Hunt, and I live in Blair, Nebraska.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Johnny. Thank you for coming.
Good luck.
Bye, Johnny.